Hi guys, Lewis here from Authority Hacker, and in this video I'm going to give you a quick overview of ActiveCampaign, which is a popular email marketing tool and one that we actually use here at Authority Hacker. So we have a pretty good understanding of how this thing works, and I'm going to dive in and explain the different areas of it now. Starting with the segmentation, ActiveCampaign gives you the best of both worlds with lists and tags, and I really like this approach because you can choose how you want to manage and segment your subscribers, and you can actually add these add tags manually. So if I head to my contacts, I can check any of these and click the edit button, and then I can do bulk actions here. So for example, I can add a tag, give it a tag name, and apply those changes. But to really take advantage of ActiveCampaign, you'll want to tap into the automated tagging. And you can do this using automation workflows where you set up different conditions to tag people based on the actions that they take, whether it's your emails or on your site. And I'll take you into the automations in a moment, but I want to stress how powerful this is, because the more you know about your subscribers, the more targeted you can be with your email marketing. And ActiveCampaign has some great tools to help you do that. So I'm going to go into the automation now. And honestly, this is where ActiveCampaign steamrolls the competition, because similar to Drip and GetResponse, this uses visual workflow automations. This is an example of a workflow automation, and it's not crazy by any means, but this is a typical cart abandonment automation. So it basically says, check if the person is in the buyer's list. If not, follow up with this email, and it will wait 3 days, and it will try that again and send another email if they don't move over. Now, you can do all sorts of things with this and get unbelievably granular with the types of automations that you run if you're creative enough to make that happen. The building blocks are essentially called actions. So if I click to add something in here, these are the actions. So I can add splits, goals, I can end the automation, I can send the subscriber to a different automation. And when you combine all this with site tracking and intelligent tagging, you can automate virtually any area of your business. It is pretty slow and clunky a lot of the time. For example, adding new emails takes you out of the builder, and it just ends up being really, really slow, and you have to go through this process for even very basic automations. And something like Drip and ConvertKit solves this problem with a slightly different interface that you can opt for. So I have an example here. This is ConvertKit's trigger and action interface. They do currently have a visual automations builder, but they also have this as an alternative way of setting up automations. And I really like this because it's just a lot faster when you're not setting up something that's super complicated. Overall, if you can see past the inefficiencies of ActiveCampaign, you will absolutely fall in love with what this thing can do. Let's move on to A/B testing, because there are two ways to run split tests. So this is the traditional approach, and it allows you to do the usual subject line testing and all that good stuff. But you can also test email content. So if I click next here, and I'm going to scroll down, and you'll see that it tells you to select your split test type. This top one is the usual email subject and or from information. But the second option here allows you to test actual email content, which allows you to test as many variables as you want to see which performs best. And this is something that a lot of email marketing tools are surprisingly lacking. And what's really great about this as well is if I go next, you go straight to the email editor, and you can add extra variations by clicking the plus icon. And as you can see, it duplicates your design as well. So it's really easy to make those small changes to see where the boost in conversion lies. Now, if I click next, there's something else I want to show you here. The best part about this is if I scroll down, you can configure the split test options to determine how the winner is chosen. And you can do it by a best click rate, best open rate, an amount of time, and you can even specify the exact ratios, where the rest will be sent based on that winning variation. And finally, the biggest thing about ActiveCampaign when it comes to A/B testing is that you can test entire workflow automations against each other. All you need to do is add a split action at the start of the automation, and you can determine how contacts are split. And you can use any number of ActiveCampaign conditions to determine a winner. So this alone is just crazy powerful, and overall the A/B testing functionality is really robust, and there are just so many ways that you can leverage this for your business. Alright, let's talk about forms, and this will be a weird transition because honestly the form builder sucks, at least on the lower plans, because you can only build branded inline forms. So if I click to add a new form here, you'll see that I don't get access to these other options. And keep in mind that Authority Hacker has a list of around 60,000 subscribers, and apart from these extra form options, we've had zero incentive to upgrade. So from my perspective, it's basically the world's worst upsell. And let me take you into the form builder anyway, just to show you what this looks like. So it's pretty simple, as you can see, and you can change these values without too much trouble in the sidebar here. One thing that is an issue with this is the design. So if I go to the Style tab, I do get some options here to change the basic style of it, but what's really annoying is that most of it, I think, is bound to the custom CSS box here. So you can click the inspector and select something that you want to change, and it adds in the CSS for you, or at least part of the CSS. You still need to have some understanding of how CSS works before you can really take advantage of this. And you know, if you don't, then you're pretty much stuck with what's here, and I don't think it's a lot. And not only that, you're also stuck with the ActiveCampaign branding at the bottom here. You cannot remove this branding. So even if you're paying hundreds of dollars a month for this plan, it will look to visitors like you're using a free tool, which obviously is not a good thing. So overall, unless you're paying for the higher plan, just forget about using ActiveCampaign for forms. It's just not worth it. All right, let's move on to email templates. ActiveCampaign only has around 30 pre-designed email templates, but honestly it's not a scratch on tools like MailChimp with the number and quality of templates that they offer. I mean, as for the actual designs, you can see here, they're pretty average, with only a couple that I'd consider using myself. You can start from scratch, and that's actually what I've got here. This looks a lot like the form builder, but honestly it's a lot better in many ways. Not everyone is a fan of this, I have to say. It has a lot more options, way more design flexibility, and a good number of building blocks, which you can see here. The cool thing you can do with this though is add conditions. So I can drop these in, I can add an image, I can add a button, and then what I can do, which is really cool, is make one of these blocks conditional. So let's say I want this second text block to show only to specific subscribers. I can click the cog icon, make conditional, and I can set up my conditions. So a good way to use this is with tags. So to say that if a user has a specific tag, I want them to see this block. So you can send one email and it will display differently depending on the subscriber and the actions that they've taken with you and your brand. One issue that people find with this email builder is pasting in text, particularly from things like Google Docs. It can sometimes mess up the formatting. Now I have to say that it has been doing that a lot less for me lately, but I thought it was worth mentioning because it does happen from time to time, and when it does, it's a bit of a pain having to select everything, change the font size, and occasionally change the color as well to get everything matching up again. Another problem is with uploading images. So if I click this to open the image manager, what you'll see is I get these white thumbnails, and this is a recurring thing. Every time you add a new image, it has to reload the thumbnails, and you know, if you're looking for something quickly, it's a real pain, especially when the names of your files, your images, are not consistent. It also doesn't order them in a way that you would expect. It's alphabetical. I would prefer if the newer images were put at the top, so it's just easy to insert. So it's just little annoyances like that that really take away from the email builder in general. But overall, I think it's more than good enough to achieve what you need from it. Okay, for integrations, ActiveCampaign actually integrates with around 150 applications. And this is, it's a respectable number in comparison to other email marketing tools. And there's some good documentation on each of these individual integrations. So I can click one of these and it will open some information about it, tell me how exactly the integration works. This is not something that you get with every tool, so it's a really, really nice touch. Also, it's supported by Zapier, so really, unless your current setup relies on some obscure applications and services, you should have no problems when it comes to integrations. As for tracking and reporting, before you send a campaign, you'll see a summary tab that looks like this, and you'll be able to turn on and off the different options like open and read tracking, link tracking, reply tracking, all of that good stuff. So it's really easy to control this on the campaign level. And sometimes, you're going to want to turn them off, and sometimes you want to have them all on. It really depends. So being able to have this control is really nice. As you can see, there are a number of reports on the left here. Clicking into any of these gives you a detailed breakdown. So this is the open and reads report. I can see the unique opens, how many people didn't open, and I can scroll through the individual contacts who this was relevant to. You do also have other options here to create new campaigns. For example, I can click the resend options button here, and I can send to contacts who have not read or opened this campaign. And this is obviously a feature that everyone should be taking advantage of. It's really, really powerful. Finally, you can see reports for automations. So if I click down here, this gives you things like completion rate and average completion time, as well as the usual open and click reporting. Again, this is not perfect. It has its faults. As you can see, it's taking an age to load here, which is a recurring theme with ActiveCampaign. So this is the abandoned cart report. So it gives me some stats here. I mean, overall, the tracking and reporting is really, really good, and you can expect plenty of insights from both your automations and your campaign reports. Okay, let's look at the support options, and like most tools, you'll likely start with the knowledge base. ActiveCampaign's documentation is actually quite thorough, and you'll find videos and webinars on pretty much every aspect of this tool. The email response is also good, and I find the response comes back within 24 hours most of the time. You also get phone and live chat support. I often have trouble getting through to live chat because of my time zone, but that's not really ActiveCampaign's fault. This tends to be a problem for me. When it does work though, the chat rep is always helpful and knowledgeable, so there's really no complaints there. And finally, there are a couple of Facebook groups, one official and one unofficial. And this tends to be my preferred method of support if live chat isn't available. So it's always good to see. Overall though, awesome support from ActiveCampaign. So that's pretty much everything. The full review of ActiveCampaign is available on the Authority Hacker blog, and I highly recommend you check it out because I do dive into this a lot deeper on the full article. So I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.